Much better day today. Sun's out, shining. Trees are losing a lot of leaves though. Hi everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of my series of transgender topics. If you're watching this and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, make sure to do so you stay up to date with all my latest videos as these transgender talks continue. This topic today is another kind of educational one that I think a lot of trans people will go through these kinds of questions, and that is, what is the effect of HRT? So, HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy. What that means is, for someone who is transgender, if they decide to take a medical transition approach, one of the things that they can do is go on HRT, and that substitutes in the sex hormones for the gender identity that they identify with, to replace the ones that they were that is naturally occurring in their body. So for me, for example, I am a trans woman. So what that means is my natural body produces testosterone more than estrogen, much more. So what HRT does is I take one pill called Spironolactone, and that effectively blocks testosterone from occurring at such a high concentration. And I also take then estrogen, which basically replaces the testosterone that's being suppressed. And that is what causes a lot of the effects that transgender people who take this route are looking to get. So I'll get into the effects in a little bit. I do want to mention quickly, though, that not all trans people take hormones. That is definitely something to remember. There are trans people out there who may not actually be able to even do hormones for medical reasons, but some choose not to do them, and that's perfectly valid. You do not have to do any procedures, any medical transition. You don't even really have to change anything about how you express yourself. If you know that you're, because I guess what it means to be transgender is, the word literally means you identify with a gender other than the one you were assigned at birth. So for me, I was assigned male at birth. I identify as a woman, so I'm a trans woman. Vice versa, trans man is a man who was assigned female at birth. There are a lot of other identities out there, so if you're curious about those, I'm not as big of an expert on all the other gender identities. I have heard of them, and I know a few people that are kind of related to some of them, but definitely, like, I can talk about that in the future if that's something people want me to talk about. So my HRT, I take, so I guess the first one I'll do is talk about is spironolactone. So this one is 100 milligrams. It is this pill right here. It's fairly big. It tastes kind of minty, which if it gets stuck in your tongue for a little too long, it's not terribly pleasant. But I take one of those a day, and then I take 3 of these pills, which is my estradiol, which is the estrogen. So they're a little smaller. They're more like, I would say almost like a birth control pill, actually, the size of them. But they're really easy to swallow. So I take these every day in the morning. I think one of the most important things to consider if you take the pill route is that you need to stay on top of it. You need to make sure that you're always getting your pills every day. So what I did, a handy trick that I found out for myself, is that I always sleep with a glass of water next to my bed. It's on my nightstand. I fill it up every night, have it during the night. When I wake up, it's there. So what I do is I use that water glass to indicate whether I've taken my pills that day. So my pills being across the room, I go over there in the morning, I take my pills, I use the water to wash them down, and then I put the glass on the table. So basically I look across the room, I could be at night and then go, oh, did I take my pills this morning? And then I'll look in my room at my nightstand, and the glass is gone, and it's actually on my dresser, which means I did take them, because that is kind of the system I came up with. So you may find your own system that works for you, but I found that was really cool. Yeah, other routes that you can take hormones with, I haven't personally tried them, but I am aware. You can take hormones in an injection form. The one thing I heard about that from my doctor who prescribed the pills to me is that he didn't want to originally go with injections, because what he felt was there was a noticeable spike, because you take them every week, like once a week, at a specific time of day. And when you immediately do the injection, I guess he's had experience with some patients that there's an immediate spike of estrogen in your system that kind of dwindles away throughout the next 7 days. So it's not very consistent, which is what I find that the pills work great for me. I get blood tests every 3 months, I guess it is, just to make sure things are going really well. They always want to make sure your kidneys are working really well. Anyways, your doctor would be able to, whoever, or the endocrinologist, whoever is prescribing these hormones to you, will definitely be able to answer questions like that. Next thing I wanted to say is how I got into this was I went to a doctor. So in Alberta, in Canada, the rules that we go by, you can go to a doctor if they are comfortable treating you. And the way they do it there is I didn't need to see an endocrinologist. I literally went to a doctor who specialized in transgender care, and they were able to use the informed consent model. He explained to me all the difficulties and complications that could happen. Most of the time they don't, and they're usually pretty rare from what I hear, but they have to say, this is all that could happen. You need to be aware that this may happen, this may not, expect this, expect that, right? So then you're fully aware and you can make an informed decision on whether you want to start or not. For me, no brainer. I was so happy the first day that I got that prescription that I immediately went and filled it, walked down the street literally to a drugstore to fill it. So, and started, I think I took my first one the next morning. I was like, no, I better start a good regimen first thing in the morning. So that was great. I guess some of the things to talk about would be kind of the effects of these hormones. So one of the biggest ones that I noticed right away is the mental. I felt amazingly more comfortable with how I felt in my body. It's like my brain and body started to like finally agree with each other. It wasn't like I was at war as much anymore. It was like and it may have been a bit of a placebo effect, but I was just so happy to have them finally. That was such a huge step to finally get on hormones, and I was just over the moon with them. Physical effects. One of the more surprising ones was my eyelashes actually got a little longer. I think about 50% longer and darker. I definitely did not expect that one, but I am pleasantly surprised because I think they make my face look a little bit better. It means I don't actually have to always put mascara on, and that's kind of cool. Softer skin was one. Fat redistribution. So your body will slowly kind of move the fat from traditionally testosterone areas. So someone with testosterone in their body, they may develop it, say, more around the belly. But for someone with estrogen in their system, it'll go to breast tissue, to hips, and places like that, just kind of different areas. I noticed my face thinned out a lot, and if you are curious of the changes as I'm talking about this, go check out my first video, which is my transgender transition timeline, which kind of shows where I came from and where I am now. And yeah, it was really cool. The some of the hair on my head, I think thinned a little bit. Like the individual follicles are actually thinner and softer now, less coarse. Um, my hair before was very thick and tough to deal with, and now it's much nicer and softer too. Body hair, same kind of thing, same effect on the hairs. Um, some of the things that don't happen are changes to things like your bone structure. Bones are basically built. I often describe it as like your body is a house, right? Hormones are like a renovation where you can change like the paint, the drywall, kind of the general look of the house, and but the general structure of the house generally is staying the same, right? So in a house renovation, there is some minor modifications that you do to like the structure, but mostly you keep the foundation the way it is. That is the same as the trans body when it undergoes hormones, is that bones don't change. My facial hair didn't really thin out. I had to get laser hair removal done, which I will discuss at a later time. That's a topic I want to go over. Um, Male pattern baldness did stop, which is awesome because that's kind of based on a androgen, so a testosterone body. So when you're suppressing testosterone, the testosterone no longer can really tell the hair to kind of keep falling out, which is really cool because I really love my hair and like I have a little bit of a receding hairline, but it's not horrible. I can make it work. So, and plus I have curly hair, which is like I think looks really cute, especially with my toque, which I definitely wear way more than I probably need to nowadays, just because I think it looks really cute. So what else? Some of the effects on the genitalia, um, erections are definitely less frequent and really not bothersome anymore. It's actually really hard to get one and sustain one, and I think that kind of comes like it doesn't always occur right away for everyone. I think it took me kind of a while to kind of notice the difference with that. Some people notice it, I think, pretty quickly. I noticed that I didn't get spontaneous ones as quickly anymore, like or right away, like within the first 3 months. I noticed that. But as far as like the manner of them and the way they developed, that part didn't really change much until I think later on. Sterility is also a concern with HRT because as a male to female trans woman, my um, sperm is fueled by testosterone. When that's being blocked by the spironolactone, I essentially am probably sterile. That's not something that is 100% guaranteed when you start hormones, from what I've heard, but it's kind of like expected. So what I did for that was it's a little bit of money, but what I did because I was able to afford it was to freeze some sperm. Um, in Canada here in Alberta, Canadian dollars, it's about $200 every year to keep them frozen, which to me is like it's a priceless thing because I can eventually decide to get rid of it if I want and not pay it anymore. But I always have it right now. As long as I'm paying for the storage, I can always, my offspring could definitely be uh, related by blood to me if I want them to be. Like I could, right? Like I don't know. These things are very undecided at this point, but the option is there. So if that's something you're concerned about at the age where you're starting a family, consider it. I think that's about it. breast growth is honestly the best part. That, to me, I've been on hormones for about a year and a half. That didn't really, like the structure of the breast, kind of like the tissue started to develop pretty quickly, about 3 months in. But I would say that they didn't really start filling out more and more until about month 6, and then they've picked up the pace since then, the last like year, which is awesome. So if that's something if that's something that's important to you, definitely consider HRT. Not everyone will get maybe the breast that they're looking for. I would say a good rule of thumb to go on for that is to look at the family, the genetic history in your family. So if the women that you're related to are have a certain size, it might be fair to expect that kind of size. So I think that's a good place to start. The last thing I want to talk about with HRT is that the one thing for specifically trans women or anyone who takes HRT from that takes estrogen and they're suppressing testosterone is that your voice does not change from the hormones itself. The voice I have right now, while it's not perfect, I've had to work at. It used a year and a half ago. It actually sounded a lot deeper. So I'm proud that it's actually getting better. And if you have comments on it, if you like it, if you don't, feel free to comment because I'm always looking for tips. I'll do a different video about the voice, what worked for me in training it, because I know that's a big one. That was a huge one for me to figure out. And I'm happy that I'm seeing progress, so I'd like to share that with you. To close off this video, I just want to say again that not all trans people choose the HRT route, but if you do, definitely check out more online resources, or if you have any further questions, let me know in the comment section below, and I'd be super glad to answer them for you to the best of my ability, or at least point you in the right direction of where you could find those answers, because hormones are awesome. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.